driven on the main road? Yeah, we've driven on. Okay, we haven't gone off the main road. But yeah, usually, okay, the ones I went, once you get off these roads, a lot of them are just dirt roads. And these communities, in the communities, they're just dirt roads in the community. You can see the pavement ends. I think it ends there too. Well, no, it just looks really rough, but I'm guessing there's a good chance it ends there as well. Um, so a lot of the Russian roads look like single track each way, and a lot of dashing driving, people passing when they shouldn't be. But in this community, like the one we went to, dirt roads, and we went to the hospital. And what the hospital was essentially a single floor rancher house thing with a small kitchen, a recovery room with like it was like four really old beds, like with like the springs kind of bowing in like that. Um, a doctor's office and a nurse's office, and an outhouse outside. If you want to go to the washroom, you went to an outhouse outside. Um, but yeah, actually, I kind of got ahead of the story there. He offered, he invited me to his home when we got to that place. He's like, I'm getting driven back to my car, which is parked at a gas station. We'll get dropped off my car. We'll get in my car. I'll drive you to my family's home. He's like, he lives with his family, like I think his mother and stuff like that. Like just the whole family lives together in the community, and you can stay there the night, and then you can catch a ride the next day. And that was really cool. That was the first offer I had in Russia for like to be invited into someone's home, and I was very excited for that. And when we got dropped off at the gas station to pick up his car, we got in the car and he turned the ignition and there was nothing. Just a click. Just a click. So he pops the hood, opens up the hood, the battery's gone. While he was working, serving these communities as a doctor, uh, someone somehow opened up his hood and stole his battery. Uh, it wasn't a dead battery, it was a no battery. The battery was gone. So he calls up his friend, but his friend's pretty far away, and his friend has a spare battery or whatever. So we wait there like an hour and a bit, and his friend comes by with the spare battery. And put it in, plug it in, and it's not charged, but whatever. We jump the car, and but the battery won't like get a charge, like the alternator's not charging or whatever. So as soon as you let off the gas, it just dies. So he's like, okay, well, we're not gonna figure this out tonight. So we get dragged into one of these communities that I'm showing you, where it's just off the highway, just off the main highway going east-west in Russia, the dirt road as soon as you leave the highway, and there's a hospital that he serves in that community. So I sleep in the recovery room, and where does he sleep? The doctor's office, I guess, because he wasn't in the recovery room. Um, and then I meet the nurses in the morning, and they were really excited because there's a Canadian there. I have a picture with them somewhere with those nurses and the doctor as well. He's a very nice guy. Um, we went out to the highway, and the next day, and the car was working at that point, so I don't know what happened in the morning. Maybe he went out, or if he had someone come by and fix it. But I think it was working. Or maybe we took a different car, borrowed a car. I don't know. Don't remember the specifics there. But we went back to the highway, and like he kind of just stopped it just before, and I kind of stood there, and he's like, "Wait 1 second." Dude walked out to the road, literally just like flagged down a truck. The first truck that drove by stopped, and he just like hopped up. He like said a few words back and forth to this guy, and then he walked out, waved me over, and he's like, "This guy's going to, I think it was Cheetah." And if I recall correctly, I think it was like 500 kilometers away to Cheetah at that point. So he just instantaneously flagged down a 500-kilometer ride for me. Now, I had several people in Russia tell me not to stop in Cheetah. Like all through a good chunk of Russia, for what we could communicate, people told me to not stop here. They told me there were bandits. I don't know what that means. Well, okay, they described what that means. Essentially, if they find people that, like, if you park your car on the side of the highway in apparently these areas, what they were saying is bandits would come and they'd like if you're sleeping on the side of the highway, they'd rob you essentially. That's how they described it. Um, so they assumed me being like a hitchhiker and a pedestrian, I'd be an easy target, and bandits would rob me, rob stuff from me. Um, that's the translation is bandits. Or no, I think I actually used that word, bandits. Um, but this truck driver was driving 500 kilometers to Cheetah. So people were saying, avoid Cheetah, get a ride past Cheetah, don't go to Cheetah. I went right to Cheetah. um, but yeah, this truck driver was going to Cheetah. I think he just dropped me off at a random junction, and then I walked a really long distance. But I never went into the city itself. I stayed to the exterior. How did I do this? Which road did I? Because I walked a really long distance and there. I didn't see that many people. Did I go along that road, or did I go? Is that road that I walked along, or this road? But I had to walk pretty far. Anyway, once I found a spot that was good for hitchhiking, I got picked up really quickly, which is par for the course in Russia. I don't think I ever had to wait that long. Um, but yeah, these guys drove me about 3,000 kilometers. It's just a random truck stop in Russia. It was October at this point. In central Russia, winter was starting. As one truck driver that picked me up. We stopped in some random town. Like this guy came in. He just like picked up some random guy that was like walking down the street. They got in, chatted for a bit. I think the guy that we picked up, the guy you're seeing on the right there, gave him like a jar of preserves and then left. But I don't get to understand the exact details of things because I don't speak Russian and they don't speak English. This is what a lot of like this uh, medium-sized towns I'd say look like in Russia. So you see like old like block housing that's incomplete and not really being worked on. And a lot of houses like this. This was like your standard houses that you'd see in these towns. Um, yeah, Russia, Russia, Russia. This is what most of Russia looked like. Any issues with mosquitoes? Not this time of the year. Great seeing you at home too. Hope you're keeping well. I'm keeping pretty decent. Yeah, more Russia. When I kind of described Russia, I described it as fields and birch trees. That's what a lot of Russia was to me. A lot of fields and birch trees. Um, like this is to me what Russia looked like. This exact landscape. Uh, we drove through Kok. Uh, oh, I think I had a video. Like even on like the main road, I think this what this was we were driving up to a town and there was a bypass for trucks. Trucks weren't allowed to drive into the actual town. So you'd take this bypass and it was like a dirt road with huge potholes and you're in like a fully loaded truck and you're just like bouncing all over the place on this truck bypass for the town. Um, I was hitchhiking at a bus stop in somewhere centralish Russia and there's a cow at the bus stop. Just thought that was noteworthy. Classic cow at a bus stop. Don't know what that says, but that was after I think my coldest night in Russia. In the morning it was like between -8 and -10, I think. And I was most of my gear was geared for a summer trip. I started in April and now we're coming into winter here. Uh, it was a colder night. I think this was near Irkutsk or something like that, just east of it or something. The guy picked me up and he's like, he seemed really nice. But this is like the type of propositions that are like scary. So you're in central Russia, right? And this guy picks you up hitchhiking. You're hitchhiking across Russia. Guy picks you up hitchhiking, and you're driving down the road. He's like, "Hey, I got some property just off the highway up here. Do you want to go up there? There's a really nice view up there." Yeah, let's go check it out. It actually was a really nice view. This guy had some property up in the hills just east of, I believe it was Irkutsk. Um, so I went up there and I took a photo. Uh, just anywhere in Russia, somewhere. That was that cold morning, I think, where I took the picture. Um, and I was camping out that night in the snow. I was very cold, so what I had was I punctured a inflatable sleeping pad. So I had a thin closed cell foam sleeping pad, just a rolled up piece of foam that's like really thin. That was my sleeping pad. I also had cardboard. Cardboard's a decent insulator, so I stacked the cardboard underneath the sleeping pad and slept on that, but I'm sleeping directly on top of snow. I got a lot of ground heat loss through that because I'm sleeping right on snow. And I had a 0 degree Celsius sleeping bag and I was cold. It was not a fun night. That's me in the morning. I think that's the same day. So like that sweater, I picked that up in Poland at a secondhand shop because it's just a heavy wool sweater because I was in Europe through the spring and summer, um, and now we're going to the fall into Russia, and I'm like I need warmer clothes, so I picked up some like secondhand equipment just because I needed extra layers. Someone picked me up in Russia, more Russia. Uh, we're like full like central like Russia, Siberia at this point. It looks full winter, but this is October, maybe early November. Oh, god damn it, I did it again. Where was I? I showed you the cow. Oh yeah, is here where I switched scenes and then you didn't see anything after that. Fuck. One day I'll learn how to actually do this. Because I want to like sometimes like address you guys, so like I think it makes sense to like switch to the webcam, and be like, let me talk to you now. But then I have to remember to go back to this. So sorry. Uh, Random in Russia, the cold night I was talking about, I just took a screenshot of my phone in the morning after I was up and packed up. I'm like, it was really cold last night. How cold was it? At 8:45 a.m. -8. So I think it was probably a couple degrees cooler, like early. It's like usually coldest at like 5, 6 a.m. kind of thing. Uh, that was me in the morning after I packed up my tent, walking down the street, got picked up. Um, don't know where, random place in Russia. Oh yeah, and I was saying this is like you're in the middle of nowhere in Russia, and that's your landscape in the fall. Looks like full winter. It's October, November. Did you already plan your trip after Corona? I have no idea when that's gonna be, so I haven't planned. I won't plan that until I know when. It's a, it depends when that is. But really, my first trip is probably gonna be in Canada. I think as things slowly start to improve, it'll be like you can kind of travel domestically, and then after that, then international will become a thing. Never lost any footage, images, or anything? Yeah, I've probably lost a ton, like from this era. Um, stream stuff. I think there's a few VODs that disappeared because after 60 days or 90 days or whatever, Twitch deletes the VODs. But what we do is we highlight every stream. But there's a few instances where we forgot to highlight streams and they lapsed, and the VODs deleted, and we never created a highlight, so they disappeared, unfortunately. So, but most of them survived. A really blurry picture of a sunset. Yeah, we're like you're really in the middle of nowhere in Russia at this point. Oh yeah, this truck driver picked me up. I think he picked drove me when I don't remember like the exact location here, but when I looked it up at the time, if I recall correctly, it was about